Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as a few hours, but hey, it's something. And well, I recorded this after I recorded the last podcast episode right before the last main series video started to blow up on... you guys seem to really like the Magneto episode. The message has spread really far and wide, even reaching a very certain area of the world. Because at least 3 people who commented on the video seem to very much not like the perspective that I put in the video. Particularly because I compared a comic book villain to a specific country, even though that is literally what the character is based on. The funny fact is, there's one specific section of that video that is really fucking funny, especially now in retrospect. You see, I had recorded it, and I was putting it in the editing system, ready to like edit it, and then it hit me like the specific part. I'll tell you the specific part I'm talking about. Like, I included that section where Magneto was like, I pointed out like Magneto uses EMP to like turn off all the electricity in the world. It's like, man, that's crazy. That's like an extremely evil thing. It's one of the things that I basically said to explicitly be like, this is just insane. Not a single person could even remotely hear that and then go like, oh yeah, he's just going after the bad humans. He's just going after the bad guys. And then right before I was going to begin editing the video proper, it hit me. Oh shit, wait, that actually happened. That actually happened. Israel actually did that. And they're actually making that claim. So that I pull out the mic and just haphazardly record that part where I literally just directly compared it to Israel. Because, again, it literally happened. It's funny when it's just like, that just actually happened. Like, you live... I'm not gonna get into it. Let's just go on to the news. Let's get right into the news. First news story is a big development from the United Kingdom. Jeremy Corbyn has suggested that a new party will be in place before the 2026 elections. Like, at a recent campaign event, Jeremy Corbyn, the former leader of the Labour Party, addresses the call for a new political party, stating, quote, "This whole cause is coming together so that by next year's local elections, long before that I hope, we're going to have something in place that is very clear and everyone will want to be a part of and support." Now, there are a couple of things that are just like, wait, why not? Why now? Well, of course, there are a couple of things that are going on right now. One is the UK is really like talking and debating about the Israel funding, and that's one of the primary reasons why the independent alliance in the United Kingdom that exists now is formed in and of itself already. There have been a couple of other things that have led to like controversies within the Labour Party. You know, there was that 2-child cap controversy where Keir Starmer kicked out like 5 Labour MPs. I think 4 or 5. I forget how many. But like he kicked out a decent number of them because they supported a policy which the Labour Party naturally would support. And recently, he's recently went so far as to start doing like anti-immigration rhetoric. So now many other Labour MPs are literally just like, I don't know. And this is like the prime opportunity for the Labour Party to like actually like for a new form of like the UK Labour Party to like become a thing. And while looking at this, I actually just checked like the Independent Alliance wiki page, and they have a logo already. Like the Independent Alliance of the UK now has a logo. And I think I'm just gonna. It's a good logo. It's like it got the Palestinian colors on it. It's got 3 arrows going upwards, which is sort of a symbology of of the traditional 3 arrows, which is a tradition anti-fascist movements. But they're going upwards instead of going to a side, indicating like we are rising up. Will they keep that logo when they inevitably form the party? I don't know, but this is, again, the perfect opportunity for the Labour Party, like for something to rise out of the Labour Party. And one of the reasons why this is like finally like the thing, like why I'm talking about this like really a lot, especially, is because of the fact that Corbyn is now finally saying this. Like, Corbyn has traditionally been the guy that has been standing in the way of a new left-wing party to form in the UK. Because he still has some sort of like loyalty to the Labour Party, which is admirable to an extent. He's been a Labour Party member his entire life. And now, the Labour Party keeps spitting in his face, so it's like, there is no other option left except for a new political party to form. And if I had to hedge my bets, I'd say that Corbyn will be chosen to be the leader of the party, at least until the next election. Then maybe Sockhat Adam will be the next guy, or they'll just pick one of the other like Labour Party dissident MPs. There's definitely there's definitely a vacuum to be in the Labour, like for a new left-wing party in the UK. Like The Green Party of England and Wales can't really fill in that gap. It's kind of started trying to fill that gap, but they really won't be able to do so, especially if Corbyn's party finally gets off the ground. The Workers' Party of Great Britain has basically collapsed in that sense, that because one of their big things, they want to be anti-Labour Party, but one of the things that they're anti-Labour Party on is Labour Party being super trans. Is like they're like, oh, we hate the woke identity politics, but now the Labour Party is now jumping on that same train too. So like, you have no route left. You literally have no route. So hopefully, UK will finally be able to get a left-wing party that isn't, like, designated to one of the small areas of the United Kingdom. The one thing I want to see what this party's stances on, like, the United Kingdom question would be. Because if they play it right, they could actually form a massive alliance. I know this is, like, probably a La La Land fantasy, but I've always had the idea of maybe, like, the Scottish Nationals, Sinn Féin, Plaid Cymru, and whatever, like, nationalist parties in the UK exist, like, they can join together into one big alliance. And granted, it doesn't really matter. Like, I mean, Scottish National Party and fucking Sinn Féin forming alliance really doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's like, not so like Sinn Féin candidates are gonna run in fucking Scotland, or they run in candidates in Scotland anyways. It doesn't matter. It's more of just like a symbolic thing, like just symbology. And, you know, who cares? We lefties like a little symbology here and there. So I think that would be nice. Anyways, now let's move on to the next story. Israel did a little oopsie doodle again. Okay, so here's what happened. A group of diplomats that were from other countries, from nearly 24 countries, were in Israel, and they were like doing a little, like, they were going in a trip in the West Bank in the city of Jenin. The countries in question were diplomats from Britain, Canada, France, China, Russia, and the EU. And what happened is they were on a peacekeeping mission, you know, just to see, like, their whole point was basically like, we're going to go to the West Bank in Jenin and see what's going on. That's the whole point of, like, the diplomats going there. Like, we're going to see what's going on. And of course, what ended up happening is they were going on the state-sanctioned Israel tour, Everybody's like, that's what always happens. Like, they go on the official state-sanctioned Israel tour. Like, Israel's like, let's go down this specific path, down this specific road, and let's go down here, and blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, hey, hold on, let's go down this path instead. And they start walking in a different path. And then magically, a couple of IDF soldiers just started shooting in the air, like, around them. Like, alleged. Like, here's what happened. Like, they were getting, like, bullet sounds started happening, and they started running, and they were like, what the fuck? We were being shot at. And the IDF soldiers were like, no, you don't understand. No, you don't need to understand. We weren't shooting at you. We were shooting to keep you away from this area. Because that doesn't sound suspicious at all. That doesn't sound suspicious at all, man. They're just like, no. You can't get on this pack. No. There's nothing there for you to see. Like, come on. Does that not sound inherently suspicious? Like, they're just like, no, you can't go down this path. You can only go down this path. And this is like just like some of the most authoritarian sounding shit I've ever seen. It's just like, oh, you can't go down this path. You guys, like, they were literally saying, their excuse was literally they were diverging from the state sanctioned path. Like, let me see if I can find, like, the actual quote here about it. In videos published by the Palestinian Authority, soldiers on the road blocked off from a large yellow gate can be seen aiming rifles as shots are heard ringing out as dozens of people are seen leaving the area, some of them showing signs of minor panic as they take cover in a convoy of cars. I assume it's Palestinian Authority, because what else would PA stand for in this circumstance? But, like, it's like literally they were going down a path and there was a blocked off path, and they're like, hey, hold on, let's see what's back in that blocked off area. And they're like, no, you can't come here. Like, that's interesting. And yet we're not allowed to talk about that very suspicious behavior. Like, it's because it's the same thing with, like, most other authoritarian regimes. Like, of course, like, you go down the state-sanctioned path of fucking North Korea, they're gonna show you, like, oh, the happy, fat North Korean boy. He's, like, happy, jolly, running around. It's, like, again, it's just, they're gonna show you that. They're not gonna show you, like, it's the same thing as, like, of course, Max Blumenthal, when he goes down, like, the state-sanctioned path of, like, fucking Nicolas Maduro, he's gonna go to all, like, the nice, fancy stores. He's not gonna go down the shitty areas. Even if he was allowed to go down there, he wouldn't go down there because he wants to spread a message. And it's the same thing with, like, this. It's like, Israel wants to, it's the same thing. It's like, conveniently, all the people who go on a state-sanctioned, like path for Israel, they are just whatever. The same thing happened with Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter literally just like, hey, I don't want to go down, like he's like, I'm going to go down, I want to go into this area. And then Israel's like, okay, we're going to set up the stink sanction path for you to go down. And he's like, no, I don't want to. I want to go in the Gaza Strip, and I want to go down there. And I want to go down there specifically. I want to go down there without you guys supervising me. And they just point blank told him, like, no, you can't go down there. And he's like, why not? And he's like, well, they're like, well, because, it's dangerous. He's like, really? Let's see. And like, no, we're not going to go with you. No. You guys can go by yourself. I mean, they're basically implying that Jimmy Carter, if he went down that road, he would die. And then when Jimmy Carter went down that road, basically every single person was like worshiping the ground he stood on because he's like the one fucking president who actually like understood the Palestinian plight. Like, of course, when people like Lonerbox and Destiny go down the state-sanctioned path of Israel, they're naturally going to support. It's the same thing when Ethan Klein tried to do that thing. He was like, I go down the path. I'm going to go down. I'm going to take a trip to Israel. I'm going to show you guys how cool it is. And the same thing when all those like Israelis came in the comment section and be like, look, I've been in Israel. Me and my mommy has been into Israel. So we, of course, know a lot about this land. You know nothing. You've never been here. If you just came down here, you'd understand how things work. It's like, dude, I'm not going to go in the fucking like magic ivory towers to see how the fucking like plebeians are doing. Why would I want to go down the areas that are, of course, going to do of course your areas are doing well off in this fucking, like, crisis. Because your areas are the ones that are going to specifically do well because of what is happening. You guys are the ones who explicitly benefit from the ethnic cleansing in Gaza. You guys are the ones who explicitly benefit from this. You guys are of the magic flippity flu that gets to have the magic privileges of, like, not dying. That's what the whole point of Israel is. Like, when Ethan Klein literally said that he was going to go in a trip to Israel and then, like, do a propaganda tour of Israel to show how cool it was, it's like, I literally point blank said, like, this is literally the equivalent of when fucking, like, Juan Perón went to fascist Italy and then started singing its praises. Because, again, he went into the areas that were doing great. He didn't go in the areas that were suffering. That's the point. Like, that's the point of it. You live in an ivory tower, you live in a bubble. You don't understand what it's like in the outside. And surprisingly, that wasn't the last time there was a controversy regarding Israel and embassy workers and violence and shootings. And weirdly enough, not even the only one on that day. Because the same day that happened, there was an attack at two members of the Israeli embassy were shot at by somebody. I could say his name, but I'm not going to fucking, like, glorify his name, because that's what he fucking wants. I'll get into everything surrounding him, but not, like, his name specifically. You're free to post it. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you guys, like, everybody else knows his name already, but it's, like, the point is, I don't really personally like to glorify, people who commit, like, mass crimes like this. This is, like, the 15th or so, like, does this qualify as a mass shooting? Regardless, like, in the wee hours, like, I mean, not the wee hours, like, in the, like, final hours of May 21st of 2025, 3 days ago, 2 Israeli embassy workers were shot by a 31-year-old who allegedly yelled, "Free, free Palestine," while he was shooting them. The victims in question were Yaron Lachinsky and Sarah Milgram, a couple who were working for the Israeli embassy, as I mentioned before. And at least prior, Yaron has a little bit of a notoriety in regards to his... he's very much been vocal about his stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict, and he wasn't really necessarily the favorite. He wasn't exactly the biggest fan of the Palestinians. And now one thing that has been floating around ever since the attack was, like, basically people were trying to figure out the motives, and the motives seem pretty obvious in retrospect. And they try to figure out, like, like, one of the big things that happened is, like, a lot of people kept labeling this attack as an anti-Semitic attack. And then many people pointed out that Yaron is not Jewish. Technically, he's not. His father was Jewish, but his mother was Christian, and he was a practicing Christian. So, technically, he is not Jewish. I know there's, like, the whole thing about, like, different Jewish sects have different, like, beliefs. Like, some people say, like, yeah, it doesn't matter if your, like, mom or dad is Jewish, it doesn't really matter. But, like, some people, like, really hold on to, like, explicit, like, like, they have to, like really explicit, like, because, like, the whole point is, like, in the Jewish, like, faith, the most traditional sense is, like, your mother has to be Jewish before you to be considered Jewish. Sarah was, like, the religious Jewish person, like, an American reformist Jew, I believe. I believe that's the official terminology of her like specific faith. Again, people are rushing to call this like an anti-Semitic hate crime when it's like, I mean, very clearly the primary motivation is the Palestinian issue. Like, if it's that's the most obvious. Like, it's most obvious, especially when you learn a little bit more about the suspect, the person who was arrested. And that is because the person who was arrested is a person, I'm not, again, like, no name, because he's not going to get credit, but he was a member of the group known as the Party of Socialist Liberation, and was a member of the Answer Coalition. And allegedly, apparently, some people, like, finding out, like, they're, like, digging up, like, everything about him, you know, as you normally do, just because, again, they want to find, like, every single fucking political motive about this guy. And apparently, at one point, he donated $500 to Joe Biden's 2020 bid. I don't... That's like the biggest inconsistency. That's weird. It's like he was a member of the PSL, but then he donated to Joe Biden. Like what happened? Like, there must have been a massive fucking political shift for him in those years, because he was a member of the PSL at one point during 2017. And for those who don't know, the PSL is a party that is like way out there, like way. They're basically a party of like the most extreme people you could think of in regards to like political ideology. They are a party that basically says like, again, like the biggest fucking shit, like the most insane shit imaginable. Like they were the party of the guy who the day of October 7th basically cheerleaded the attack. And it's like, yeah, these guys are insane. They're also well known for having sex pests, and according to some random people on Twitter, are allegedly infiltrated by the feds, which has led to a big prominent conspiracy theory. Like, people are saying, like, the timing, the party that he was involved with, like, and there's, like, one thing, like, they found a picture of him, like, sitting down, and, like, after he was handcuffed, and he was just basically chilling. Also noting the response to it, where, like, some of the most insane rabid people on, you know, the pro-Israel side, you know, like Randy Fine, the new guy that just got elected to Congress, basically saying that he thinks that in response to this attack that they should nuke Gaza, and it's like, I thought violence was bad, but it's different when it's like the brown people that are being the violent ones. But people are using all of that to basically claim that the attack was a false flag, and it's like, why? Like, I mean, no, it's not. No, I mean, the PSL is just a. I gotta be real, like, the PSL is, like, the one fucking party that I would expect 100% to have these, like, and it's like, dude, of course there's gonna be fucking radical crazies on every side of the issue. Of course there is. That's not in dispute. That's never been in dispute. Why would anybody think that's in dispute? Especially for the PSL. The PSL is, like, fucking insane. And this guy was clearly, like, a guy who was, like, really hardly pushed really hard into doing what he did. Like, there's a fucking, like, speech from his neighbor that literally went viral, because, like, they went the day of, and, like, basically, like, because, like, basically that guy's house got doxxed as well, when people are trying to, like, shit on the neighbor, like, shit on, like, the actual guy, but, like, the neighbor, the 71 neighbor came forward and basically said, like, you gotta understand a certain number of things. Like, he points out, again, you know, the Gaza death toll. It's like, in the same vein, like, thousands of people are dying this one day, and, like, and one thing, it's like, there's one sign that was, like, in the window of one of these two people that talks about justice for Waeda Foeme, who is a 6-year-old Palestinian, like, parent who was stabbed 26 times, and, hold on, how many times were the people shot? Hold on. It says right here. It should say in here how many times the people were shot, because, like, I remember seeing it was like a decent amount of times. It was, like, 21 rounds. I thought for a second it was 26 rounds, because I thought it was going to be, like, exactly that amount, like, revenge, when it's, like, these two particular people technically did not have anything to do with, like, the before thing. Ethan Klein also responded to this and basically made the entire thing about him. And it's like, why? Two people got murdered, and you're making this about you? Ignoring the thousands of other people who have died in this conflict. It's like, all these people dying and suffering, it's like, you're making this about you? There was also this random fucking account that basically said, like, they claimed that if you said Free Palestine at any point prior to that, you are responsible for the attack. And it's like, does that mean everybody who says pro-Israel stuff is in favor of what? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, it's again, double standard all over the place. Now, I am very much going to include, like, a word text above this thing so that nobody can misconstrue what my perspective on this is. This is a fucked up thing that happened and could have been prevented. Since I do not have a double standard, I think that people dying is wrong. Hot take, people dying is wrong. And I want peace and no more violence in any regards in regards to this conflict. A lot of other people don't agree. Oh yeah, and there's another part of this I forgot to mention. I forgot to mention this part where Israel is going so far as to blame random fucking people on this attack. Like, everybody's being blamed for the attack except for the guy who actually fucking pulled the trigger. People who say pro-Palestine things are being blamed. Son Piker's being blamed. And in Israel, a Zionist politician named Yair Golan is being blamed. Because Yair Golan is Yair Golan is basically, he's still a Zionist, and he still has committed war crimes as a member of the IDF. That's true. You could look it up. It's on his fucking wiki page, where he literally says that he used Palestinians as human shields during his time at the IDF. He says that Israel needs to go back to the policies of Menachem Begin, who is literally the forefather of Likud. And this guy is supposed to be. This guy also claimed that he supports if Palestinians wants to leave Gaza, we can help them. It's clearly he's basically no different in regards to a lot of those policies than that. But he said one thing that's just he said the very controversial thing of killing babies is wrong. He said that, and now basically every politician in Israel except for Hadash Tal and the Democrats think that he's insane and an evil terrorist. Literally, they blame him for criticizing Netanyahu and his genocidal regime for the reason why those 2 DC deaths happened. It's funny. Again, these are the same guys. In America, they do the same shit to me, but then they also... There's a guy who was in that fucking comment section saying, I vote for Yair Golan, even though I said the exact same thing Yair Golan said in that specific instance, that, Netanyahu killing babies is wrong, and he's still somehow being how dare you say that? And this is insane. This is insane. All the shit has happened. The genocide going on in Gaza, and the fact that this is leading to people in America to take action in their own right. Again, it's insane. Maybe it would be in our best interest to cause the least amount of deaths by preventing the things that are causing all these deaths to begin with. So again, in no uncertain terms, this is fucked up, this is bad, and it shouldn't have happened. And it could have been prevented if Israel did not commit their genocide in Gaza. Anyways, now let's move on to the last story. And it is the story about Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. Because apparently, Donald Trump is trying to do this big thing where he's passing something literally called the Big Beautiful Bill. And it's I don't even know what the fuck this bill is supposed to do. I think this is a budget. Yeah, I think it's it says here it's a tax and immigration bill. And it's I've seen some tidbits about it here and there, and it's the sweeping... Dang it, this thing keeps fucking crashing. The sweeping package of tax cuts, Medicaid reform, and immigration spending delivers on many promises of president's domestic agenda, promises. It fulfills his campaign promise of no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. It creates the Trump saving account. It creates a Golden Dome defense system. It's insane. But a lot of people, this bill had a lot of drama here and there. Apparently, some Republicans were very critical of the bill, the Freedom Caucus, because it would raise the deficit immensely. Because every single GOP bill literally raises the debt and deficit, but they keep pretending it doesn't. With many members of the GOP even going so far as to say that they probably wouldn't vote for it. Although eventually, many of them yielded. I think only 2 Republicans switched to vote. And... I think 2, but I can only remember 1, Thomas Massey, because Thomas Massey's basically this is just a flat out no. I'm not doing this. I think there has to be one other Republican that did it, because the bill passed with a 1 vote majority, with a 3 vote majority. It says here that Warren Davidson voted for it, and apparently Andy Harris voted present. Andy Harris, the chair of the Freedom Caucus, he couldn't bring himself to vote for the bill, but he voted to lower the threshold. Now, this bill is very interesting for that one fact. The bill passed 215 to 214, and again, 3-vote win. So hypothetically, if the Democrats had 3 more people in the chamber at the time, they would have won. They would have been able to kill the bill from passing. And people then were immediately quick to point out, oh wait, they did have 3 more people, but they fucking died. Sylvester Turner, Raul Grijalva, and Jerry Connolly. And now those 3 are just being paraded around and tarnished because of the fact that they held on their seats too long. And I'm right there with you. Yeah, I mean, Jerry Connolly, of course, everybody fucking hated him. He was originally one of the fucking main stories of this video, but I didn't. But like when this came up, it's like, okay, I could just lump him dying here. Yeah, he died. Oops, the dying man of cancer died of cancer. Yeah, what a shock. At least he got his turn. Sylvester Turner died from whatever the fuck he had. I don't even know what the fuck he had. I barely remembered he fucking existed. I literally was about to say Raul Grijalva, Jerry Connolly, and the other guy, because I didn't remember his fucking name. And he was set to fill a vacancy of another person who fucking died. And Raul Grijalva, like, this isn't even a matter, again, of, like, if I like them or not. I don't like Jerry Connolly. I don't like fucking Sylvester Turner. I don't give a shit about either of those people. They like, Jerry Connolly absolutely fucking sucks. I hate him. Like, I hate him. And I didn't give a shit about Sylvester Turner until he fucking died. It's like, wait, you died? You just got elected, and you fucking died. That's insane. But Raul Grijalva is the one, like, again, this isn't a matter of, like, liking them or not. Raul Grijalva was a pretty good member of the House of Representatives for a long period of time. It doesn't matter. His reputation is tarnished because he died in office. He found out he had cancer and then decided to stay the course in his seat and then basically say, hey, I'm just going to sit out this race. I'm just going to sit out the next race when it happens. And then he's basically stayed in fucking infirmary, I guess, for like the first couple of months in the term and then died. It's like, why didn't he fucking tell the Arizona Democratic Party, pick someone else? Why didn't he do that? Better yet, why was he fucking running for re-election to begin with? Again, this is why we need term limits. Like, a lot of people say, like, oh, you can't have term limits because... It's like, I don't fucking care. When we live in this situation where they won't retire, it doesn't matter. You need to go. They need to go. They are not going to... They are not allowed... They should not be allowed to stay in this office forever. And the Democrats won't fucking learn anything. Literally, all the fucking old people who are running for office are running for re-election. I think at this point, we actually got a point where someone's trying to force a re-election bid to not happen. Fucking, Danny K. Davis, he hasn't announced if he's running for re-election or not, but then I know, like, his protege, LaShawn K. Ford, basically just stepped into the race before he had a chance to even announce whether he would run or not, and I think it's either, like, an actual indication that he's not running, or it's a chance that he's trying to, like, effectively try to push him out of the seat. Remember, Dianne Feinstein literally was forced to not run in the seat. And then she's like, I'm running. And they're like, no, you're senile. You're a senile old bitch and you're not running. It's like, oh, well, I guess it's for the best. It's like, shocker. It's not turning out well for you guys. You ran the fucking senile old man, Joe Biden, last time. And you guys almost lost in a 400 total vote landslide. This is insane. Insanity. All the old people in the House and Senate should not be allowed to run for re-election anymore. It's insane. And there's not much else I can say, because, like, again, the Dems aren't going to learn. The Dems are going to, like, fucking do the same old shit over and over and over again, and we're going to fucking die because of it. Blame the Democrats. I mean, at this point, yeah, blame the Democrats for everything. At this point, yeah, we can blame the Democrats for anything, because at this point, they do deserve the blame for everything. Anyways, with that out of the way, let us move on to the main topic of this video. I didn't expect to see this one back for a while, but I guess we're doing it. I guess we're doing it again. So, first... Prelude. 3 years ago today, I decided to make a video, or a podcast, on the 2022 South Korean presidential election, and went into a lot of prelude on that, going into South Korea's expanding influence in the West, aspects of their politics up to that point, the incel crisis they were facing, etc. Now, we actually have a direct analysis from the most... back then, I didn't do an immediate analysis of the previous administration of Moon Jae-in, because there wasn't much else for me... There wasn't much else to say, really, there, because he was just kind of an average, run-of-the-mill liberal. But this time, we actually have a lot more to say about the most recent administration, because that leads into directly why we have an election right now, as opposed to one that we're supposed to have in a while. This election was supposed to happen, like, in the 2030s, I think? No, like 2020, hold on, let me see, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, I think 2026, yeah. But regardless, 2022, I recommend watching the 2022 video if you haven't, because that one gives a lot of interesting analysis at the time period, And I just generally think it's pretty interesting because it goes into a lot more about like that specific time period of South Korean politics up to that point. And it would be really nice for you to like at least get a bit of an understanding about South Korean politics before going into this one, because this one, South Korean politics kind of like in this administration kind of went into a little bit of an interesting direction. But all you need to remember is that in a slim lead, a man by the name of Jun-seok was elected in large parts due to reactionary young men. The gender gap among South Korea is very noticeable. 58% of young men supported him, while 58% of young women supported his opponent. I don't really know how to like fully do these, because I've seen a chart about the fucking like gender gap in America. I don't know if I think that the gender gap in South Korea is way more noticeable than the one in America, because I remember one from the old video where I said like it was like a 90 or 80% of young men supported the right-wing party in a specific mayoral election. Like young men especially, because there is a huge gender gap problem. Like that's one of the major problems that happens in a lot of Asian countries. I mean, I don't know if it happens in a lot of Asian countries, but it happened a little bit in Japan and it happens a little bit in South Korea, which leads into a lot of the drama in regards to like birth rates, which is like a big talking point in regards to that. Regardless, like his electoral base was basically a bunch of incels. Like literally, that was basically the whole thing. His whole electoral base was basically a bunch of incels, and like, due to that fact, a lot of the problems, like there were a lot of systemic actual, though it's always the case with a lot of right-wing reactionary movements. They ignore all the actual societal and systemic problems in order to push it onto things like, it's the fault of the women. The women are the ones who are causing all the problems. That's basically what the whole argument is. For America, it's of course immigrants, Muslims, gays, whatever. Like, it's always the same sort of like reactionary movement. They blame a group that has no societal power, and then go into like basically going like, oh yeah, like I mean, for Israel they blame Muslims, for Nazi Germany they blame the Jews, of course, like blame it on a small group that has no power, and then use that to kind of like push whatever agenda you want that doesn't actually address any societal problems. Like for example, one of the big problems that was going on in the time period was a housing bubble, and one of the candidates was basically running on like, I'm going to fix the housing bubble. Meanwhile, Yoon-seok said, your problem is women, and I'm going to fix the problem with women. And surprisingly, that did not work. And he literally did some absolutely insane shit that's just like, in no sense of the word did that even remotely make his base like him. One of the first things he tried to do was he tried to increase the work hours from 52 work hours a week to 69 work hours a week. In 2022, he tried to create a police bureau to push government oversight into the police force, which led to protests against them for trying to politicize the police force. He tried to increase the quota for medical students, which led to a medical strike against him because they're like, that's not going to solve the problem. You're just going to push... Basically, the way he wanted to solve the medical quota crisis was that he wanted to basically just pass more doctors, which they're like, no, that's not... No, you're basically lowering the standards to become a doctor. That's insane. You can't do that. Another big thing about Yoon-seok's policies was that he was a huge South Korean nationalist. So, of course, he hated something known as the Sunshine Policy. And the Sunshine Policy is a policy of South Korean liberals which advocates for open dialogue with the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the North Korea, even floating the idea of a potential reunification down the road. Meanwhile, of course, South Korean ultranationalists just want to, really hardcore hate the North because they're like, fuck socialism, fuck communism, blah, 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 evil. And basically tried to slowly kind of he basically claimed he wanted to start building up the military in case the North was going to do something. And then they're like, but we don't need to. Because even in South Korea, a lot of people don't really see the North as a problem anymore. Because again, for a while, South Korean liberals have tried to ease tensions with the North. So the North is not really the boogeyman that they once were. There are still tensions with the North and South of Korea, but it's not as big as it was, say, during the Korean War or something like that. Literally, it's literally not. It's literally insane. And people learned real quick that without the sexism to wow them up, Yoon literally had nothing good to offer them. And the midterms weakened him as a political force, with the opposition rising to oppose him. And one of their strategies, they had a very interesting strategy, where they were basically going to steamroll anything he wanted. Like, basically be like, yeah, now that we have enough of a voice to be heard, we're just going to stop him from even remotely getting anything done. And that led to Jun-seok to start going insane. And on December 3rd of 2024, at 10:27 p.m., Jun-seok announced that he was going to declare martial law in order to, quote, eradicate in one stroke the shameless pro-North anti-state forces that plunder our people's freedom and happiness, with the Prime Minister getting a list of individuals to arrest, which included the entire leadership of the opposition party, a prominent South Korean journalist, the leader of a prominent activist group, the head of the Korean Electoral Commission, and even the leader of Yoon's own political party. The time that this was done was not a coincidence, because his intention was he wanted to do this while the National Assembly was not in session, and all the people were like out. So literally, it's like nobody can stop me. What ended up happening is that opposition figures were just like, oh, okay, and then they just started sounding the alarms on their social media posts, and we're like, oh shit, this is insane. Like, this is actually interesting. They actually have been warning about the possibility of a martial law declaration for months. Even going so far as to say that Jun-seok was actually trying to actively court North Korea into doing an attack on South Korea to justify to justify him going into martial law territory. And while the North Korean military, of course, followed the rules as they're supposed to, basically everyone else said no. Like, the assembly immediately came back into session and impeached Yoon and removed him from office. Even having to work past the military to do it. Like, they're literally, like, very interesting things where, like, they would break in through the military barricades and then would form their own barricades to prevent the military from getting back in. And as of this point, the South Korean government has been in a caretaker position, basically going to fill the seat until a new election takes place in June. Now that we got the pretext out of the way, who are the parties and candidates in this election? Now, there were a lot of people who were vying for the position of the election at the time period, but as of the time of the, filing deadline, only 6 people managed to qualify for the presidential race. 4 people with political parties and 2 independents. And this is pretty interesting because if you watch the previous episode and watch this episode, you know that South Korean politics is very similar to the United States' politics, in the sense that it is basically a 2-party system. It's basically like a lot of European systems in a sense. Not even necessarily that. It's basically the middle ground between America and the other countries. Because other countries, they have, at least viable third parties. In South Korea, they basically don't have any viable third parties. And, they have viable third parties in the sense that there are third parties that get to be in the National Assembly. But they don't have viable third parties in the sense that they don't have, much infrastructure. In the last presidential election, the third place candidates got 2.38% of the votes. And outside of the major 2 parties, the National Assembly has 23 seats to minor parties. So, again, and if you do a quick Google search on the National Assembly's membership, it's that's a pretty decent margin. That's definitely not painting them in a good light. And originally, I was going to just talk about the 2, at least, I was only going to talk about some of the major candidates in the race at the time period, but as the race has, again, there were originally a lot more people that were running for the party, but now, there's only 6 people running, and it's at this point, I could just run through them all. It doesn't really matter. It gives you a little bit of an understanding of South Korean politics to an extent. Again, it gives you enough to understand, just how the structure of South Korean politics work. I will say one thing about South Korean politics before I get into it. In South Korean politics, socialism is essentially banned because of their, problems with the North. So, if you're a socialist party, you basically can't exist. You basically have to run as a progressive or more to the right. But anyways, regardless, let's get into the candidates. Again, 6 candidates. First, we have Jin-ho, a businessman who is running as an independent. there's basically nothing for me to say because he's basically running as a promotional bid. Like, most people kind of figured out, like, this dude's basically just running as, like, promotion for his stores. There's nothing much else to say. The next candidate is Hwang Kyo-ahn, the former prime minister of South Korea and the acting president of the country from 2015 to 2017. He is running as an independent, but previously tried to be a member of the People's Power Party, like tried to be the nominee of the People's Power Party in 2022, but didn't end up qualifying. The interesting thing about him is that he was actually part of the legal team to try and defend Jun-seok from facing political persecution, for trying to overthrow the government. So that should give you a little bit of a sense about his ideological leanings. He's pretty right-wing. The next candidate is Yeong-guk. He is a street lawyer running under a political party known as the Democratic Labour Party, which is a left-wing coalition of the Justice Party, the Green Party, and the Labour Party, all of which are technically not socialist parties. I think the Labour Party is a socialist party, if I remember correctly, but the rest of them are just like progressive parties. And Kyo-ahn actually has a rather extensive platform. His platform is as following. We will create a turning point to resolve inequality by guaranteeing the rights of 15 million unstable, non-right, and low-wage workers. We will redistribute wealth through the recovery of rich tax cuts and the taxation of unearned income of the and rich. We will open the era of free education to free care, and university through the expansion of the integrated care of the local government and integrated nursing care service. If these sound bad, it's because I got this from an official South Korean wiki, but, clearly the translation is not 100%. By enacting a comprehensive anti-discrimination law, a country without discrimination will create a safe society from hate and danger. We will establish a climate definition and a just transition centered on public renewable energy to form an ecological society. We will expand 3 million green public housing houses and guaranteeing housing stability by recognizing unlimited renewal through rights to tenants. We will fundamentally reform the seized economic structure by large companies, platform companies, and financial holding companies to create a just symbiotic relationship. We will provide sustainable agriculture by putting food sovereignty in the Constitution. We will open the economy open the era of peace on the Korean Peninsula, and promote diversification of foreign trade. We will strengthen our citizenship by recording the 5.8 constitutional speciality and the introduction of citizens' rights through the amendment, and clear the camp politics and achieve political reform by introducing a final voting system and a complete proportional representation system. So, as you can guess, he's a pretty, progressive, left-wing-ish candidate. Pretty much, your standard fare. Next candidate is Lee Jun-seok, a National Assemblyman who is a member of the Reform Party, which is a small center-right party that has very minuscule representation, but is notable enough because they are an opposition force to the People Power Party, which is the prime right-wing political party. Speaking of, the next candidate is Moon-soo, the Minister of Employment and Labor under Jun-seok, running under the People's Power Party, South Korea's dominant conservative party. In fact, he used to be a member of the far-right Liberty Korea Party until 2020. The thing that is interesting about him is his sort of moderate stances on the Yoon question, because that's one of the big things that they want to hear from the People's Power Party. What is your stance on the Yoon question? So, while he did oppose Yoon Suk-yeol's coup, there was a group of members of the cabinet who were ordered by the National Assembly to apologize for the coup, and he just did not do it, which is okay, what message are you trying to pull here? And it seems that his specific nomination seemed to be a bit of a problem, because it seems that they did not want him to be the nominee. It seems that the People Power Party wanted someone like Han Dong-hoon. The finalists were him and Han Dong-hoo, who was the former head of the party, the one that Yoon-seok wanted to arrest. Remember him? Han Dong-hoon was basically running an explicit I am anti Yoon-seok. Yoon-seok is a fucking loser and whatever. But, of course, it really wasn't a problem until... to Americanize him, think of Han Dong-hoon as Mike Pence. he was fine with everything until the target was on his back. The basic tenets of his platform are, quote, fighting corruption, pension reform, nuclear submarines to stop North Korea, a military alliance with the United States, and increasing government spending on artificial intelligence infrastructure. And last, but certainly not least, we have Lee Jae-myung, National Assemblyman, 2022 presidential runner-up, and the chair of the Democratic Party of Korea from 2022 to 2025. The Democratic Party of Korea is the main liberal center-left voice in South Korea. Traditionally, it was more of a modern-day liberalism thing, but Lee Jae-myung has tried to take the party into a bit more of an FDR-type liberalist route, even having claims that Lee Jae-myung is a left-wing populist. He's also been accused of being a misogynist, but he's argued against Yoon-suk-yeol's incel takes, so you tell me. Now, his year was actually interesting. 2024 was Lee Jae-myung's interesting year. Lee Jae-myung was already a prominent figure in South Korean politics thanks to his presidential run, but 2024 was the year that he kind of became a superstar in South Korea, and it's for a number of reasons. Okay, so on January 2nd of 2024, he almost died. He was literally almost assassinated. Literally, he was at a campaign event, and then literally some dude just ran up to him and stabbed him in the throat. He lived, thankfully, and, it's been interesting to see how that plan pans out. I think that guy explicitly said that the reason why he did that was to stop Lee Jae-myung from becoming president. Okay, so on April 10th of 2024, his party beat Yoon-suk-yeol's party and was able to unify with other smaller parties to expand their influence. And on November 15th of 2024, he was accused of violating the Public Official Election Act due to him not disclosing a relationship that he had with a businessman, but later got acquitted for that action. And then on December 3rd, 2024, that was, of course, when he became the leading figure to oppose Yoon-suk-yeol's coup attempt, and even live-streamed his perspective the entire time. Basically saying, he live-streamed, him driving to the National Assembly. He wasn't driving, someone was driving him, but he's basically hey guys, this is fucked up. This is insane. This is insane. We need to immediately get rid of this guy. And then there's even one point where it's on the Wikipedia page, where he literally streams himself climbing a fence to get into the National Assembly so that he can, be a bit more, be more, just be a focus, to finally get rid of him. Okay, so, his platform, the platform of Lee Jae-myung in this election is very interesting, because especially with the contrast of his last bid. So one thing I need to mention is that UBI was a cornerstone of his 2022 bid, but as far as I've seen, there hasn't been any mention of it in this recent bid. Some of his platform planks include officially moving the capital from Seoul to Sejong City, which is a city that was explicitly built to be the capital of South Korea, but so far they still have the capital in Seoul. He wants to have an investment of up to 100 trillion won, $70 billion, to develop the AI industry. He wants a mixed green economy, policy of renewable and nuclear energy. He wants a 10% tax credit for chip makers that manufacture and sell domestically. He supports the Sunshine Policy. And while he has shifted to be a bit more pro-business than before, he has maintained support for a Democratic Party bill that would reform the Commercial Act to expand the duties of a company, basically so they can't fuck over their workers. Now, there are a couple of issues going on in this election, but we'll get into them. What are some of the major issues that some people in this election are going through? Okay, so there are a couple of main issues, but to be fair, a lot of these issues are just issues from the last election that have not been resolved. First, division. Whether it be age, sex, or partisanship, Korea is facing a lot of issues of growing division. The sex one is especially worrying thanks to the fact that South Koreans are facing an aging population and low birth rates, and it's going to be hard to get people who are so vastly politically different to have sex with each other. The economy is very stagnant, still facing a housing crisis of a widening income gap. And North Korea, how the fuck are we going to approach North Korea? It's an issue that's always been there, but again, like I said before, it's basically an issue that is, it's there, but it's nobody gives a shit about it anymore, essentially. It's only in there because it's literally just the North Korea is right there, and they have such high tensions already. But it's like, whatever. It's like how in America, it's like America is like a big issue. Like America has Canada and Mexico is a big issue. But it's like, really, for the most part, those like candidates in their particular countries don't really talk about America. Look, I mean, okay, it's more of a Mexico thing. Apparently Canada, they mention America a lot because they have no lives. But anyways, what are some events that happened in this election? Okay, so first, the only left-wing party that has representation in the National Assembly, the Progressive Party, who was originally going to run a candidate in this election, made the stunning decision that they would not endorse, like they would not run a candidate, and would instead endorse the candidacy of Lee Jae-myung. Now, this particular party, the Progressive Party, is very controversial, as it very much borders on the no socialism. Like, remember how I said that there was a no socialism rule? It basically borders really close on that one, because I think the party was originally like explicitly founded as a socialist party that actually had ties to North Korea, but now the party has basically drifted away from that stance, but it still has somewhat democratic socialist leanings, with the party head basically saying the best course of action to prevent something like the attempted coup from happening again. So despite any misgivings with Lee, it's best to stop the fascism before it happens. You know, just like me after January 6th. And with that, people actually floated the idea, and other people, like, I mean, there are a couple of other people. I'll get more to that in a second, but like, with that, some people actually floated the idea of Yeong-guk to do the same thing, considering he lost by under 1% and the party got 2.38% last time. You know, people are like, yeah, Lee Jae-myung lost by 1% last time and your party got like 2% of the vote last time. So like, are you sure you want to run again? But he says that it's best for independent progressive politics to continue. On May 2nd of this year, Lee Jae-myung's case would be reopened, with the trial originally slated to be on the 15th, but has been now rescheduled to be June 18th, which is after the election is supposed to happen. So basically, again, it's like, I think it's a similar situation with the Trump thing, where it's like, oh, like if he gets, I don't know if he like gets tried if he gets to be president, but I mean, either way, like whatever. But now I want to get into the one thing that almost made this election interesting, but basically fucked up at the last second. Okay, so there were attempts to change things up this election to really be more than just a two-man race. And one of the big things that happened that almost led to something different was when the interim president at the time, Han Duck-soo, who was the prime minister that got the letter to arrest all those prominent people during the coup, resigned on May 1st with the intention of seeking the presidency as an independent, being a bit more of a center-right traditional conservative to the People Power Party, you know, who were taking a harder right-wing route. But many were not in the mood to, like, he basically wanted to run a campaign that was like, look, you both sides of the aisle are having a little bit of a trouble here and there, so I'm gonna run, he tried to basically be like a center-right centrist to an extent, but, like, again, people were not happy, especially the fact that he was more in line with the right-wing camp. So they're like, I'm not sure that this guy's even remotely a good choice. Even going to a memorial for student protesters against dictators, which was protested, Han even getting hit by a sign, and the big problem especially happened because it showed that in a situation where Han and Kim were running against each other with Lee Jae-myung would overwhelmingly win the election. So Han Duck-soo and Kim basically were like, we need to figure out a way to coalesce our bids. So on May 8th, the two candidates held an event to hash out political differences. While there was no formal agreement, the dialogue was open for them to discuss issues in the future. And it seemed that the guy who was much less interested in a unified candidacy was Kim, similar to the last time when Jun-seok steamrolled Ahn Cho-soo into bending the knee to support him. Like, basically, this was the plan. So it basically seems like the smaller conservative candidates, because again, like, it seemed like Ahn Cho-soo, for those who don't remember, who didn't watch the last video like I told you to, he was a more, like, he was a bit more of a moderate candidate, similar, a smaller right-wing candidate, a center-right-wing candidate, but he's basically, like, the same thing, where it's like, he proposed the idea of, like, unifying a candidacy under a more palatable person, you know, seemingly him, but Jun-seok basically said, no, I'm not going to do that. And it seemed like Han Duck-soo wanted to do the same thing to Kim Moon-soo, like, hey, if you, like, it's better for us to coalesce around me, because I'm, like, the less, like, controversial choice. But they're like, no, I'm not going to do that. And this got even more heated on May 10th because the People's Power Party openly stated that they were open to the idea of scrapping Kim's nomination entirely and nominates Han at the last minute. But Kim rejected it, stating that the PPP was becoming too undemocratic, even going so far as to label replacing his candidacy to a midnight coup. I wonder why that comparison would be interesting. Which led to the PPP basically saying, okay, fine, we'll put it to a party vote. Would you guys be interested in replacing Kim with Han? And they said no. So then Han basically dropped his whole bid and endorsed Kim Moon-soo. And interestingly enough, that's basically what happened. The day after, they're just like, okay, I just stopped running. And on May 14th, the Democratic Party has pushed forth a law that basically makes it so that, the law that's hurting Lee would change so that it wouldn't hurt him anymore, which is interesting. And on May 19th, there was a small far-right candidate named Joo-wa who dropped out and endorsed Kim Moon-soo. So again, the far-right seems to be coalescing around one guy, and the left wing doesn't seem to be wanting to coalesce around Lee Jae-myung. Okay, so, but let's get into the polling. So, poll-wise, it's pretty lopsided for Lee Jae-myung. He had double-digit leads basically the entire election. Before the nominees were finalized, even when Han was basically in the thing, he was actually considered Lee's primary opposition. Hence the idea of the swap in the first place. And there are actually two types of polls in the election. First, there are normal polls and head-to-head polls. The latter polls are basically just to see who would you prefer of the top two or whoever, just to give people a chance, if you want to vote tactically, what would happen. But even after the nominations closed, Lee still has a somewhat dominant ring in regards to the polls. Lee and Kim beat the rest of the field rather easily, but Lee still has a decent lead over Kim. But the support has dropped a little bit. Before the nominations, their gap was Lee Jae-myung had 20 points ahead of Kim, but now it's at the low 10s, and even a recent poll had a 4-point lead for Lee, which is a little over the divides last time because the polls usually had a 1 to 3 points between the two candidates, but it is getting a bit closer, and it's not a guarantee that Lee Jae-myung could still win. It's not a guarantee that up to this point, prior, it was 100% a guarantee to win, but now they're I'm not sure. It's still possible that he could win, but it's still a little bit. It's a little bit more 50-50 than before. But it seems that the overall theme of the election is basically massive regret for snubbing Lee Jae-myung last time. And the conclusion and support of this race is basically Lee Jae-myung. I liked Lee Jae-myung last time, and I think that you should support Lee Jae-myung this time. Yeong-guk would be a good choice if he stood a chance, but I think, I still think Lee is still a better candidate. It's vastly a better candidate, even if he has moderated his stances a little bit. Is this just a ploy to get elected? I don't know. If Lee Jae-myung wins and then disappoints, it's that's a bridge we'll have to cross. But, ultimately, Lee Jae-myung is still a better candidate. And so far, it seems like he's going to win. But, things could go any other way. I don't know. It's still possible that Lee Jae-myung could lose. But I wouldn't bet on it. But anyways, that's pretty much all I got to say on this. So, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell to notify when a future video of mine comes out. And if you want more content from me, consider supporting me on Patreon.